Welcome to all of you to the Brooklyn Society for Ethical Culture. My name is Catherine Bordeaux and I am the clergy leader here. The separateness, the uniqueness of each human life is the basis of our grief. Look through the whole world and you will find no one like the one we have lost. Yet that uniqueness lives on in the privacy of our memories and in our hearts. And that person, although no longer visible, remains a member of this family and this circle of friends. When we listen, we can still hear her voice. When we reflect, we can still feel her presence. And as long as we live, she will be part of our experience. This memorial for Kimi Gay is a tapestry of grief and gratitude, loss and celebration. It is a reminder of how we belong to one another more deeply because of the memories that we share of her. We remember Kimi from our separate perspectives, as sister, as lover, as roommate, as friend. We remember parts of her life that belong especially to each one of us. And we recognize the parts of ourselves that were affected by knowing her. I am happy to share a summary of a beautiful life with you today. Kimi was born on March 28, 1957, to Emiko Sasaki Gay and Royal Gay, Niemeyer. Emiko, having had the experience when Remy was born of being sent back home to wait for 12 more hours, noted calmly at 8:15 that it felt like it was the right time. She called the car service, picked up a pre-packed bag, called Roy, who was working late, called neighbors to pick up Remy, and rode off into the darkness at 8:35 to Jamaica Hospital in Queens, New York. Kimi was born at 9:08 p.m. Eager to come into this world, just in time for Emiko to get her coat off, as the staff was wheeling her into the birthing room. A few days later, is it possible that women were able to rest for up to 10 days in those days? I wish. Grandpa Koji and Grandma Oteru Sasaki appeared at the door of the house in Hollis, Queens, from Salt Lake City, Utah, to help out with their youngest grandchild, who just happened to be born on the same day as Grandpa. You see some pictures of them back in the back. By the time Kimi was ready for elementary school, the family had moved to the Franklin Plaza Co-op in Harlem, Manhattan, where Kimi attended the local public school, took wonderful dance classes with Shirley Brushing at a local after-school program. She excelled at academics, showed artistic talent, which you see wrapping around this room, did nothing with the beautiful singing voice she had shown as a younger child, and despite being shy socially, had a couple of close friends and loved performing as a dancer. When asked why performing didn't bother her, she said, "Well, you can't see the audience on stage." Kimi was talented enough to get into the High School of Art and Design, an easy bus ride down 2nd Avenue. She didn't graduate from there, but did so well on her GEDs that the agency that helped her get her diploma actually called up her mother to say that they had never had a student do so well. Armed with a GED, Kimi attended Hunter College, successfully for a couple of years, but began showing deepening emotional problems in her junior year, which she restarted and then would drop out almost a dozen times. Misdiagnosed and incorrectly medicated in those days, who had heard of bipolar? The outside of her life seemed to be a round of hospitalizations and moving from one living situation to the next, including being homeless and staying at city shelters at times. Internally, though, she was growing and changing despite the difficulties. She was no longer shy. She continued to do her artwork, no matter what situation she was in. She joined MSIA, the Movement for Spiritual Inner Awareness, where she learned to meditate and got her mother to attend seminars with her until she died in 1983. Eventually, Kimi got an apartment in city housing. She had parties, friends over, collected and listened to all different kinds of music, despite her troubles with the psychiatric system. And as she got older, Kimi enjoyed family gatherings, out-of-town relatives visiting, and helping her Uncle Conrad when he was in his 80s and needing help getting out and about. About 4 years ago, Kimi noticed a lump in her right breast and sought treatment on her own to have it removed. And unfortunately, late last December, what seemed to be pneumonia turned out to be metastasized cancer in her left lung. She underwent treatment again and seemed to be getting well for a while during the spring and early summer, but the cancer reappeared in her other lung. And despite treatment and her physical and mental strength, her heart failed in the early morning hours of October 22nd, 2011, at Elmhurst Hospital in Queens.
Well, I don't know if I'll cry or not, but I'm going to try. One of the things that happened is when my sister was ill is I realized that I had actually lived with her for 54 years. My father died when I was 25, and my mother died when I was 35. So my sister and I had a lot of time together, and I know it's probably going to hit me even more later that she's not there. Because I remember even when my mother died, I do things like, we used to go to Macy's on sales, you know, and you get the sales flyer and you go, oh, I think, you know, I got to call her. And they say, nope, can't call her anymore. So at this point, I was grateful to be there to help my sister at the end. And a lot of the pictures here, which I didn't say, you know, aren't said in the bio, if you turn to the back, this is so typical of my sister's humor. She was much lighter than me. I always took things much too seriously. And she actually, we both had the same bad temper, but she was always the one who usually lightened it up and like looked at me and made me laugh, or she'd say, I'm trying to make you laugh. So, and on the front you'll see, I think that's a self-portrait of my sister, and the other is her, a dancer, which Kimi very much was for a long time in her life. So. The other thing I'd like you to do when you have a chance afterwards is to look around and see that there's a few things here that were very much my sister. She loves Snoopy and Woodstock. There's a reading light because she liked to come over, and part of her being bipolar was having trouble sleeping. So everybody in the household would be asleep, and she'd be sitting there with a reading light. There's a little, you know, those little reading lights there, reading until who knows when in the morning. And there's also a Hello Kitty change purse, which interestingly enough, and also typical of Kimi, instead of being full of change, it's got stamps in it, because she loved to write letters. And some of the pictures and that you'll see around here actually still have letters that she never managed to mail. And there's one to Karen, if you can find it, Karen. And there's one to some other people here. So that was one of the joys of my sister, was to communicate with people by writing. One of the things that she enjoyed doing because of that was she wrote to people in prison and, you know, kept up their spirits when they were in prison. And then she wasn't that interested in keeping up friendships afterwards. But you know, it was a wonderful thing. She did a lot of generous things in her life. There was actually a song I thought of using for the program, also sung by Joan Baez and written by Bob Dylan, about, it's called The Restless Farewell. It's about a person who says, "My feet are now fast, they're turned away from the past, so I say fare thee well, and I'm on my way." But the real reason I liked it is the first verse is about how she freely gave all her money away to her friends. And that was Kimi. She had very little money herself, and she was always giving it away. She finally, in her 40s, learned how to pay her bills first. I'm happy to say that's what I'm saying, part of what she learned and grew with. And then she also said, you know, the other verses, for all the boys I ever touched, I never did it with the, you know, bad intent. And there's a lot of things in that song, if you listen to it, that reminded me of my sister and all the things. But I knew that made me cry too much, so I didn't put it in. But I am glad you're all here. Thank you for the support. And, you know, as I said, Kimi was in my life a long time, and we finally became middle-aged women together. Even though we still fought like I was 10 years older than her. And she still gave me the good fight. She didn't want any of my advice. She'd ask for it and then not take it, and that was one of our biggest fights. It's like she was still, you know, she was still 15 and I was 25, and nobody's going to tell her what to do. So towards the end, we even started working some of that out, because I learned to say, I'm not pretending to be your mother. This is just an idea. Then you should think about it. And so that was helpful too. And lastly, the reason I have the gayatri and the quotes here is because about a week after Kimi died, I went to get an acupressure treatment called Jin Shin Do. And they do pressure points and relaxes your body. And the practitioner poked this spot on my shoulder that never usually bothers me. But I do know that all the spots in your body in Chinese medicine have to do with organ systems. And the organ systems have to do usually with ideas or emotional things or something like that, right? So I said, what's that? And she says, oh, that's the bladder. Now, the bladder has to do with letting go. So that made sense. My sister just died. I probably had to cry or something like that. She said, but it's not the usual thing you think of when you talk about the bladder system and letting go. She said it has to do with separating the unreal from the real. And when she said that, I had an image of being with my sister in the hospital the last few days of her life. And I realized that, you know, our pattern all our life, the unreal pattern of our life was to fight, especially about her medication and hospitalizations and things. She always felt I wasn't sympathetic enough. And I always felt like, you know, leave me alone, stop being hung up on that. It's not a matter of not being sympathetic, just get on with your life. You have this artistic talent, you have this, you have that, you know. So we used to fight a lot. And that was our ongoing, unreal aspect of our relationship. But the real part was we just like being with each other. And that last week or so, that's what I got out of being with her. We just would sit together, and I'd read to her, and she'd read to me, and we'd write letters, and we told jokes, and that was what was real. And that's what I'll have with me forever with my sister. So thank you again for coming.
Thank you, Remy. Thank you. And the next person I'd like to invite is Richard Campbell.
Remy and I used to go together when Kimi was a teenager, and we had a sort of an unspoken arrangement. Remy would take care of my mother problems, and I would do my best to work on her Kimi problems. Kimi was at that point not really communicating with everybody in the family as far as I could see. And I saw that, and I thought, well, maybe she'll talk to me, because I didn't know whether I liked her or not. That really was irrelevant. I knew she had to talk to somebody, and I felt that this, you know, I love this family. So we talked, and it's hard to put a piece on what was wrong. When Kimi first went over the edge, Remy called me up because I had been the last person to have really contacted her, or contacted her. And I stayed up with Kimi for several days, trying to, because I had a lot of, had a lot of emotional difficulties myself. They were actually still ongoing. And Remy had introduced me to bioenergetics. And I had been working on it every day since then. In fact, I still do it every day. So I worked with Kimi for hours and hours and hours. And she said afterwards that it was the only thing that reminded her that she had a body. But eventually, the explosions that were going on, and I had heard the term bipolar, but since I had not had it, it wasn't something I could diagnose. So I thought she was having a schizophrenic breakdown, which something was for me. And but eventually, I just collapsed, and then Kimi went, I guess, for her first hospital stay after that. I'm very torn. I feel much shame because I had not and could not at various other times be more effective. It was something I thought about. In some of our last conversations, finally, actually, she came back when I discovered Remy again on Facebook, and I had her bring Kimi over to work with her on some of the sort of things that I thought might work. I work now with very artistic therapies like color therapy and sound, I thought she responded very well to them. When she first came in, she was speaking with a very high voice and was very shy, you know, and all of it was within one actual period. She broke out of all that. But unfortunately, for various reasons, we were only able to work a few times. I was very apprehensive when I heard about the cancer. I guess I felt I knew her that way. I'm very grateful that I got at least to contact her again. I remember one time on a trip on the subway, she was almost like doing a dance while talking to me and telling the story. A sort of pantomime dance. It was very, very beautiful. I guess that she was a very wonderful person at heart, but she at basis. But whatever it was, she did not have or was not able to surmount it, I think. Okay, so.
And now I'd like to invite.
Been friends for 24 years, and also roommates on a couple of different occasions. And I would say she was the single most colorful person I've ever met. A lot of videotapes that I was transforming from VHS to disc yesterday and the day before. And I was just overwhelmed by her ability to, when she wasn't drinking too much coffee and whether she wasn't bouncing off the walls with a bipolar high, she could be a tremendous listener, a tremendously logical individual. More like Mr. Carl Rogers, the founder of humanistic therapy, than anybody I've ever known. And you could say anything to her, and she would not be judgmental at all. And the longer you got to know her, sometimes you could feel like you could say anything to her, and even if she told everybody, then you wouldn't have to worry about it. Because sometimes it helps if can't have that feeling of being in a confession booth when you're talking to Kimi, because even more so, because when I was a Catholic boy, I would go into the confession booth and I'd be worried about, well, what if I said that I had thoughts of killing this bully, and then how do I know that this priest is not going to say, well, when it comes to violence of that sort, it's just like sex. If you even think about doing it, you've already done it in your heart, so I'm going to call the police and just have you here and have you praying. But with Kimi, you knew that was never going to happen. And there was this game that I loved playing as a student of improvisational theater, that she was able to latch onto so well, because it was just a word limitation game. Because the first person says one word, the next person says two, and then the first party says three, and you go up to 10. And I showed a videotape, or I actually videotaped the two of us doing that, and it really shows not only the kind of imagination that this exhibits right here, but also the ability to listen and concentrate and know right off the bat what the honest response is, and what you can say to a person that lets them know, hey, I listened to what you said, and here's the proof. And I was really very, very blessed with knowing Kimi Gay and knowing Remy. And I have no idea how else to say that, except for honesty. Sometimes it could pull you back. For example, one time, I think I'll just finish up with this. I one time thought that I just was doing a little tape of little audio tape of myself doing some cover songs after having a few drinks, and I thought, maybe I had the rhythm down, maybe I really was onto something. And Kimi listened to the entire tape of cover songs, and then so when it was over, I said, well, what do you think? She said, it's crap. So I really tapered back. Knock me back to make sure you're a better musician. So thank God for Kimi, and thank God for you. I mean, I really appreciate you letting me into this place to celebrate Kimi's life today. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Michael. And now I would like to invite Myron.
Didn't know Remy that well. I knew her I knew Kimi that well. I knew her as Remy's sister. And so she came, well, we were both artists, so she came to some of my openings, some of my shows, and I appreciate it. And I tried to really get this line. And, but anyway, well, we honor her and her life. I mean, it was too short. I also lost another artist who was a production supervisor at the New York Observer, and he's gone too young too. Anyway, I don't know really what to say. She was a beautiful person, a good artist, and I wish I could have known her better, but I do honor her. And thank you.
Hello, everybody. I just want to share with you the 6 years I've known Kimi, from the good, the bad, the crazy, the wonderful. She was a very caring person. She's very loving, and she'll help you in a second. We were both sick. I have bipolar too. But Remy brought me into her home, and she showed me a wonderful life with her sister. And at first, Kimi was a little jealous of me because I called Remy Mommy, and she didn't like that. And I used to call Kimi my aunt. And she says, "You're not my niece. You're Remy's friend." But then after a while, she got used to it, and she'd write me letters. I mean, letters like you wouldn't believe. I have 3 letters a day telling me when she slept, when she pooped, when she ate. And then she got my phone number and she called me up. Hi, Rose. Do you know who this is? This is Kimi Gay, your sister. I said, I know, Kimi, it's you. And when I was sick, she came to help me. I had some surgery on my foot. She came and she helped me. She didn't like TV too much. She loves to read and draw and stuff. So she used to sit and draw for me. And then we talk. And then we eat. And then she got to the point where, don't go outside without your coat. Don't go outside without your scarf. You don't need to do scratch-offs. That's no good. Save your money. When I won lotto, I just threw it away. And that's when she started to really start to feel me. Then, when she was sick, I'd go to the hospital with Remy, and I'd wash her hair, and I'd do her hair for her, and I'd go to the store for her, and she'd be like, oh, you think Remy will get mad if you get me a Coke? I'd be like, well, you know you're not supposed to have caffeine. She's like, shh, we'll hide it from her. You're going to get me in trouble. She's like, don't worry. Get me 2 Pepsis. I'd be like, okay, no problem, I'll get them for you. Then, when she got sicker, I used to be scared to see her. But I'd go. And one day my girlfriend took me. And I said, is it okay? Because Remy can't go, I had to drop off something. I said, I've got my friend with me. She says, well, I gotta put my wig on. I said, okay. So me and my girlfriend go to the hospital. She puts the wig on backwards and it's all sticking out. She says, do I look beautiful? I said, oh, you look marvelous, simply marvelous. And she would never let me in her house, but I told her I'd throw everything out in the garbage. Because she was a hoarder. But in the end, she showed me, and Remy showed me what a family was like, what to have unity is. And when we used to go to the families for Thanksgiving and stuff, Remy would tell Kimi, Kimi's like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to know that. I want to go. And then we used to go to Bill's house for, like he said, the therapy. They used to relax Kimi so much, but then she'd sit there and read her New York Times and everything, and then she'd love to shop. And then Dunkin' Donuts was her favorite place. Dunkin' Donuts, she loved it. Then we got one around the corner, forget about it. We couldn't keep her away. But in the end, she showed me a lot of things. She taught me that little logic isn't that bad, you know? And reading and drawing, she drew me so many pictures. She did so many things for me. And I can never forget that. I can never forget her memory, her face, her pictures, just who she was, you know. And it was sad that she had such a short time, but she was trying to hold on so much for Remy because she didn't want her to be alone. And I told Kimi, I'll be here. She won't be alone. And she said, okay. And then we just talked on the phone. She called me about 20 times a day, leave me some messages. But in the end, you know, it was sad to see her go, you know. But at least I know I have great memories, and I hope you all have great memories, because to know her was the greatest thing on this earth. She was a great person. Thank you. No, this is Mom's doors.
Question about stopping smoking. Thank you so much. And I'd like to open the floor to anyone else who would like to share memories or tributes to Kimi.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Juliet Baptiste, and I'm from the West Indies. I get to know Remy about, let's say 15 years gone, could be more, but I know exactly. And I went to Remy's house. I go and clean for her when she needs me. and I meet Kimi, her sister. She and me is the same identical age, but different month. She born in March, I born in April, when we get to find out each other. And when I get there, the first thing I will look for Kimi when she's at Rennie's house and say, "Hi Kimi, how are you?" And I will sit down and make at least 15 minutes with her. At the time, she used to drink a lot of soda. And I said, "Kimi, stop drinking soda." "Oh, Celia, I will stop." I said, "Okay." And she will talk to me and everything. When I get to know Kimi, Kimi was just a bundle of joy to me, because sometimes I have my little stress and I will go and I will talk to Kimi, and she said to me, "Celia, don't you worry. Everything gonna be fine. Take one day at a time." And that is what I'm trying to do now, because for the past couple months, I wasn't happy. I am very sick as well, because I just take a surgery with my eye, my right eye. When she gets sick, I try to, "Remy, I want to go and see Kimi." She said, "Okay, when I'm going, I will tell you." And I will go with Remy. And also the gentleman who was talking here, I met him a couple times there, and we just get as a family, Michael. And when I saw Kimi, I don't care if she didn't have hair or what, I always love her and I will kiss her. And she said, "Oh, I don't have no hair." I said, "Kimi, we didn't born with much hair." And she will laugh. And when Remy called me and told me she passed, I feel it like my family. I feel it because Kimi is just a lady to me, and she showed me love. Because when I go there most of the time, I'm a little stressed, but the way she will speak to me, she will make me feel very homely. And she will make sure, she says, "Celia, you get something to eat?" I said, "Sure." And she wants me to sit with her and eat. And I will sit with her and we will still go on talking and talking. And when I heard Remy call me and tell me Kimi passed, I said, "Remy, what are you going to do?" She said, "Well, you know what I'm going to do, but I have been a memorial service and 5th of this month. This is the 5th, the 5th? Okay, good." And I said, "Remy, I am going to be there." The doctor told me to stay away from outside because of the light and the air and everything, but if I did not come here today to support Remy and the rest of family and friends, that will be on my nerves. And it will be on my mind. Remy, I just thank you, and I hope you really feel better over your sister, because I only have one sister too. She's back in the West Indies. She cried with me all the time, so I know that kind of love and support. May God bless you, strengthen you, and God take good care of you. I love you.
Hi, I'm Zeb Wexler, and realized sitting here that I've known Kimi for 30 years. So my knowledge of Kimi is both peripheral and very deep. I'm a friend of Remy's. I was a high school buddy of her first husband, and Kimi was there. And and I also have a brother with bipolar, so I could share with Remy some of, I'm going to call it how to deal, how to cope. Remy's greatest characteristic was her love for her sister. It was obvious, or maybe not so obvious, but to me obvious, that anyone who she felt might take affection away from her and her sister was a rival. And it wasn't that she wasn't aggressive to it, but you could tell. You're taking my sister's time. I want to be with my sister. And everything she did was to be her big sister. I don't even know if you realize that. It's all she wanted was your approval to be with you and spend time with you. And anything that took you away from her was, I don't like it. At the same time, her sister couldn't tell her anything. If she said she would, and nobody could. She wanted to do what she wanted to do. And that was her. She had an incredible sense of humor. A little bit weird, but an incredible, she would, it's hard to say. I said, you know, I had cancer last year and I was a smoker and she was a smoker. And I said, you know, Kimi, you got to stop smoking. And she goes, you didn't. What do I say? I'm also a proponent of tough love, which is what I told Remy. And I hope that it helped, because I think it helped bring you guys closer together, because you stopped tolerating some of the stuff she did. And she stopped doing the things that you wouldn't tolerate. She was a feisty person. It's always sad to see someone, because of a sickness, not achieve the greatness that they deserve as an artist or as a dancer. And she fought against herself a lot, and that's the only, I talked to her about it sometimes. I said, stop fighting yourself. And she knew she was doing it. And she would say, I know. It's really great to see all you people here supporting both Remy and Kimi. And I'm going to leave you with a quote from How Green Was My Valley by a man named Llewellyn. He was a Welshman. And in the face of people passing on or dying, it's my favorite quote, is that the past is a garden, the memories that get into it. And as long as you remember the good things about a person, she will always be with you. And there's no sense in remembering the bad, because they're gone and you survived them.
Right. My name is Goldie, and I'm an old friend of Remy, and I think I know Kimi for about 50 years. Yeah. Because I was about 45. In any case.
You're not that old.
I had just moved out of my parents' house, and it was I think the first Christmas I had. And I came over to your house, and we were all fooling around in that bedroom. And Kimi had a friend who lived like one floor down called Violet.
No, oh, Violet lived across the way.
I just remember that. That was like the really fond memory. And then, of course, as time went on, both myself and you became a really good friend. And I knew Kimi through her adolescence. And it really broke my heart when she went. I just had so many memories of Kimi and you together. I just don't have any more to tell you about that.
Thank you all who came for sharing your thoughts and your memories. They are what brought us here, and to an almost inexpressible degree, they are the bond that holds us together. A bond of love, sadness, compassion, goodwill, and hope. By sharing, we comfort one another, and we comfort ourselves. And there is no greater tribute that we can pay to the one that we have lost than to be moved by our memories of her, and to draw closer to one another in friendship and love. Now, as we reflect on these memories, we will listen to Hard Way Every Time.
And she wrote broken dreams and more than a couple of falls. And then chasing what I thought were moonbeams, I run into a couple of walls. But in looking back at the places I've been, the changes that I've left behind. And she wrote good intentions, and I made my zero mistakes.
those who have gone before her. But we retain what she loved in us and what we love in her. We will take these treasures of the heart to our graves, because when we, too, have completed our course, we give back what we cannot hold, and hold fast to what cannot be taken from us. Goodbye, Kimi. Hold fast to that which is good. Love and serve one another with generosity and cheerful hearts. Go in peace. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, all the money in my whole life I spend, be it mine, right or wrongfully, I let it slip gladly past the hands of my friends, to tie up the time most forcefully.